have really bad social skills, and so when it comes to making friends, my default method is just to recommend books to them, and if they read them, we often bond over them. Hi, I'm Cass, and recently I was reflecting about my friends and how I became friends with them, and a lot of them, I literally just gave them a book I really liked that I thought they might like, and then I basically tricked them into becoming my friend. And so now I'm turning to my next victims, you, the internet. So basically, I'm going to be telling you my favorite books and book series, so sit back, relax, and enjoy while I try to analyze what type of person you are to properly recommend you these series. If you were an adventurous kid growing up and you had problems with authorities, I recommend the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan and the Ranger's Apprentice franchise by John Flanagan. The Percy Jackson series follows a middle schooler named Percy and his adventures after discovering that he's a demigod. Now, the main character is also a sass king and is kind of annoyed that he has to go constantly save the world since he's only 12, and he doesn't even know if he's gonna live to his 17th birthday. The Percy Jackson series is a 5-book fantasy series that focuses on Greek mythology. Now, once you come up to me and tell me, hey, I finished reading Percy Jackson, you know, it was pretty good, I drop 5 more books into your hand, except these are like triple the size. And that series is the Lost Hero series, which is the other series by Rick Riordan, and this time it focuses on Roman mythology. It contains characters from the Percy Jackson series while also introducing some new characters, and in my opinion is even better than the main series. Both of these series were childhood staples, and if you haven't at least read the main Percy Jackson series, did you even have a childhood? The second series that I mentioned was called Ranger's Apprentice, and that is by John Flanagan. This series is set back in medieval times and follows the adventure of an orphan named Will. He is selected to join an elite group of archers called the Rangers, and essentially the Rangers are the eyes and the ears of the kingdom, and they protect the kingdom from threats. Now, this series was not only just a childhood staple for me, but it is still my favorite series to this date. I even have a tattoo for it, so believe me when I say that I adore this series. Now, this series can be a little bit overwhelming to start because there is 26 books in the entire franchise. However, I would calm your nerves and simply give you the first 4 to read. Okay, nice and simple. And you think to yourself, I can handle 4 books. I can handle 4 books. But it's a trap. Obviously, after reading the first 4 books, you fall in love with the characters and you want to know what happens next. And so then, your entire bank account is drained while you go and spend all your money on the entire franchise. Not a true story, okay? That didn't happen to me, I swear. If you have a lot of emotional damage from being told that you were a gifted and talented student your entire life, and then suddenly you're out in the real world and you realize that it doesn't even matter and you're actually just really good at memorizing random facts for school and you want to add to that baggage, the Six of Crows duology is right for you. Now, this duology is written by Leigh Bardugo, and it contains magic and heists and criminal prodigies and a whole lot of baggage that you will inadvertently take on for yourself. The first book follows 6 different characters as they plan an impossible heist that, if successful, could change the course of the world as they know it, and if they failed, it would also change the course of their world as they know it. And I'll admit, when I first read the duology, I was really confused on how the magic system worked. You're kind of just thrown into the deep end. So if you find yourself in my shoes being really confused, you can actually go back and try reading the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and that kind of sets up the world a lot better in my opinion, even though the books aren't as good. But if struggling through 3 mediocre books just to get to 2 really good books doesn't really sound fantastic, then you can actually try watching the Shadow and Bone Netflix series. It does contain characters from both series, but it doesn't follow the main plot of the Six of Crows series, so you're not really being spoiled for that. You'll just be spoiled for the Shadow and Bone trilogy, but it is way easier to understand the magic system through watching the show. If you are a hopeless romantic who has set your standards way too high to ever be met, the A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas is for you. Simply put, this book series will raise your already high standards while also leaving you emotionally damaged and crushed. This series follows the story of Feyre and how she gets dragged to a magical kingdom for a murder of a fairy. The first book is a pretty loose retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and it's obviously set in a fantasy realm. There are 3 main books in the series that follows Feyre's story, and then book 4 is a Christmas filler novella, at least in my opinion, and then book 5 is the start of a new series as side characters in the other series are now main characters in this, if that makes sense. And this is actually the book series that I had given to one of my coworkers that tricked her into becoming friends with me. So, proven method that this works. If you were a tech-savvy kid that got very triggered by the teacher moving the mouse all the way to the bottom left-hand corner to hit the pause button instead of just clicking anywhere on the screen or just using the space bar, the Legend series by LaRue is for you. This book series is set in the future Los Angeles, ruled by the totalitarian Republic of America. It follows 2 main characters, Day and June, who are on complete opposite sides of the economic spectrum. Day is a rebellious character determined to wreak havoc for the Republic of America, while June is a child prodigy in the military. There are 3 main books in the series, as well as a 4th, which follows the brother of one of the characters, but I don't think that one's that important, and I didn't really like it anyways, so it doesn't matter because the main storyline wraps up in the first 3 books. If you liked poetry as a kid, for whatever reason, especially the creepy and dark ones, then The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab is for you. This was the first V.E. Schwab book I had ever read, and her writing style is gorgeous, and this book kept me captivated the entire way through. In fact, I literally read this entire book in one sitting. This book follows the character Addie LaRue, I know, if you can believe it, and her bargain with the devil that makes her immortal but cursed to be forgotten by everyone she meets. Like, the second she is out of sight, she is forgotten by that person. It contains a little bit of romance, but it is a fantasy fiction standalone novel and is my favorite read of 2021 so far. Also, 2021 is almost over, so it might be my favorite book of the entire year. I really love this book because I 100% related to the main character's stubbornness, and it was really fascinating to see how she kept her sanity after being alive so many years. Practically alone, since she couldn't really become friends with anybody, because they would just forget about her. If you've ever felt like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again, The Lunar Chronicles by Marissa Meyer is for you. There are 4 main books in this series, and each one is a loose fairy tale sci-fi retelling. So the first book is Cinder, and that follows the story of Cinderella. Second book is Scarlet, that follows Little Red Riding Hood's story. Third book, Cress, is based off of Rapunzel. The 4th book, Winter, is based off of Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. The main plot follows the character Cinder and her fight basically with her wicked stepmother, as one might expect from a fairy tale retelling. And you get introduced to 7 different characters throughout the series, like 7 main characters throughout the series. And you just can't help but fall in love with them. Like, I just finished rereading it today, and my heart, I tell you what. Now, other than the main 4 books, there is a novella that tells the backstory of the main villain, as well as a book called Stars Above, which is a short story collection that tells the backstory of each character when they are younger, and it is so precious and so cute, and I recommend reading both of those books after you finish the main series. Or if you want to read the backstory on the villain, I do recommend reading it between books 3 and 4. But save Stars Above for last because it will warm your heart because all of the little child characters are so cute. Oh my goodness. There is definitely romance included in the series, but it is by no means a romance series. The main romance that will be happening will be between you and your absolute undying love for all the characters. So, now you might have noticed a similarity between all these books, and that is that oftentimes the main character is either sassy as hell, sarcastic as fuck, or just hella stubborn, and those are all traits that I can greatly relate to. But these are all of my top main book series that I love, that I continually have to have an internal fight with to not just constantly reread. I hope one of these books or series caught your eye, and if you do end up giving any of these a read, please do let me know. And of course, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more bookish and bullet journaling content from me, and I'll see you in the next one. Toodles!